In 2026, researchers analyzing the brains of high performers discovered something completely terrifying. A man with incredible ambition pushes through all-nighters thinking he is outworking the competition. But what he is actually doing is literally, physically filling his brain with the exact toxic garbage that causes Alzheimer's disease. Why? Because grinding through the night is actually a biological trap if you don't have one specific non-negotiable nightly habit.
If you're obsessed with the why behind human success, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe and turn on that bell to join the Insight Lab. We drop deep dives like this every week to help you outsmart the average. Now, let's get into the data.
Most people think, hard work and just pushing through that morning brain fog is the answer.
Right.
It's not. Today, we're breaking down the Alzheimer's sleep loop and why your own brain might be your absolute worst enemy. Because understanding this literally changes your biological survival.
Yeah, we always just write off that heavy, foggy feeling after a late night as a low battery, right? Like, oh, I just need a double espresso to force the system to keep running.
Oh, absolutely. I do that literally all the time.
We all do it. But framing sleep deprivation as an energy deficit completely misses the mechanical reality of what is happening inside your skull. You see, your brain generates a sort of metabolic exhaust just by functioning.
Wait, like exhaust from a car engine?
Exactly like that. The medical term for this byproduct is Amyloid-Beta. Every single second you are awake, your neurons are firing, they're processing visual stuff, decoding the words in this deep dive, keeping your heart beating.
Right.
And that intense activity leaves behind leftover protein fragments. That is the amyloid-beta. It is toxic microscopic trash. And if it builds up, it forms plaques, which are the known biological hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease.
So just by being conscious and walking around, my brain is continuously generating toxic waste.
Yes, exactly.
That seems like a huge design flaw. I mean, if we are generating neurotoxic byproducts 16 hours a day, we should all be experiencing severe cognitive failure by the end of the week. There has to be something clearing it out.
Oh, there is. It's an incredibly elegant evolutionary mechanism called the glymphatic system. You can think of it as a built-in power washer for your brain. It dissolves the amyloid beta in cerebrospinal fluid and flushes it out into your bloodstream so your liver can get rid of it.
Okay, but here's the terrifying catch from the source material. This power washer does not run in the background while you're awake. At all.
No, it is completely idle and has a hard biological trigger. It only activates during deep, non-rapid eye movement sleep, NREM sleep.
And when you enter NREM sleep, your brain cells physically transform, right?
Yeah.
The sources said they shrink.
They do. The glial cells actually contract by up to 60%.
60%, that's a massive structural change.
It's huge. It literally creates the physical space for the fluid to rush in and wash the tissue.
It makes me think of a busy restaurant kitchen during a lunch rush.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, because while you were awake, the chefs are cooking frantically. Those are your neurons firing. Food is flying everywhere, grease is splattering, trash is hitting the floor, which is the amyloid beta building up. But you can't bring in high-pressure hoses to clean the floor while the chefs are working.
Right. The whole service would collapse.
Exactly. You have to wait until the restaurant closes. The chefs pack up and leave. That is your brain cells shrinking by 60%. Only then can the night crew come in and power wash the floors. So if you stay awake at 2 a.m. scrolling on your phone, the chefs never leave.
The kitchen never gets cleaned.
Right. And the next day you are cooking in yesterday's rotting garbage.
Which is the exact neurochemical reality of that sludge you feel the next morning. But if this system is so perfect, we have to look at why it's actively failing people today. The 2026 analysis focuses heavily on major urban tech hubs, places like Kuala Lumpur and Singapore.
Yeah, the data showed a massive spike in cognitive decline there. And these are hyper-connected 24/7 infrastructure hubs. People are surrounded by LED lighting, digital billboards, screens.
It is the absolute perfect storm for brain rot. By 2026, artificial blue light exposure hit an unprecedented historical peak. And blue light is a biological override switch.
Because of the master clock in our brains, right? The SCN.
Exactly, the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Humans have retinal cells specifically tuned to catch blue light, which historically only came from the sun.
So when those cells catch blue light from a smartphone at 11 p.m., they beam a daylight signal directly to the SCN.
Tricking the brain into thinking it is high noon. Consequently, the brain completely halts the production of melatonin, and melatonin is the biochemical key that unlocks the sleep sequence. Without it, you don't enter deep NREM sleep.
The kitchen never gets the memo that it's closing time.
Precisely. And if the garbage keeps piling up, we hit the most terrifying concept in this entire stack of research, the Alzheimer's sleep loop.
This is where I got genuinely stressed out. The sources describe this as a biological paradox. They say that having a high buildup of this toxic amyloid-beta actually prevents you from getting deep sleep.
It does.
But how? How does physical protein trash block a brainwave?
Well, when the trash isn't washed away, it clumps together into sticky plaques. And for reasons we are still exploring, these plaques preferentially pile up in the medial prefrontal cortex.
And that's the exact region responsible for generating deep, slow NREM sleep waves.
You hit the nail on the head. The plaques physically degrade those neurons. It is like pouring concrete over a radio transmission tower. The antennas that broadcast the deep sleep signal are fundamentally destroyed by the trash.
Wait, so because the brain can't generate the slow waves, you can't enter deep sleep. And because you can't enter deep sleep, the power washer doesn't turn on to clear the plaques that are stopping the sleep in the first place.
Yes. It is a vicious neurodegenerative cycle.
That is a literal catch-22. Am I just trapped in this loop forever if I have a really stressful month at work and lose some sleep?
Well, no, it's not an immediate death sentence. Early on, the plaques are somewhat soluble. They can be cleared if you immediately correct your sleep. But if you wait, those plaques harden into dense, insoluble oligomers.
And then the fluid can't dissolve them anymore.
Exactly. That is why we have to treat sleep hygiene as critical preventative medicine, not just a wellness trend.
Right, which brings me to the whole weekend catch-up myth. Because I know people who sleep 4 hours a night during the week and then sleep 12 hours on Sunday. They check their fitness tracker and assume their sleep debt is paid.
Yeah, that is a dangerous oversimplification. Sleep is not a bank. You cannot accrue 5 days of toxic protein buildup and settle the balance on a Sunday.
Because the power washer can only clean the fresh, unhardened trash, right?
Exactly. A marathon sleep session on Sunday might clear out Saturday's soluble waste, but it does absolutely nothing to reverse the structural hardening that happened on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Thinking you can catch up on a week's worth of missed brainwashing on a Sunday is like, it's like refusing to brush your teeth Monday through Saturday. You just let the sugar and bacteria eat your enamel all week and then think, I'll just brush my teeth for 14 minutes straight on Sunday morning.
It doesn't undo the rot. The cavity has already formed. You cannot binge clean the system.
So how do we actually fix this? We need to give you guys the Insight Lab protocol. The researchers distilled this into the Brainwash protocol specifically for high performers.
The foundational pillar here is the 3-2-1 rule. It systematically shuts down the body's waking mechanisms. Number 3, no food 3 hours before bed.
Because digestion is a highly metabolic process, right?
Right.
It elevates your core temperature.
Right, and it keeps your nervous system active. Your brain cannot initiate that 60% cellular shrinkage if the body is actively breaking down a heavy meal.
Makes total sense. The 2 is no work 2 hours before bed, which is tough, but work triggers cortisol and adrenaline.
You just can't transition from a high-alert survival state into deep sleep instantly. You need that buffer.
And the 1 is no screens 1 hour before bed. We already covered why cutting that blue light so melatonin can do its job. But the protocol also has this crazy biological hack involving thermodynamics.
Oh, this is fascinating. To cross the threshold into deep sleep, your core body temperature actually has to drop by about 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. It is a hardwired requirement.
But the protocol says to take a warm shower before bed to achieve this. If I need my core temperature to drop, a warm shower sounds completely backwards. I would assume an ice bath makes more sense.
It sounds counterintuitive, but it leverages vasodilation. When you take a warm shower, the heat widens the blood vessels near your skin. The body rapidly pumps blood away from your deep internal core out to your extremities to radiate that heat outward.
Oh, wow. So when you step out of the warm shower into a cooler bedroom, all that blood sitting right at the surface suddenly dumps its heat into the air.
The heat transfer is massive. Because the thermal energy was pulled away from your center, your core body temperature just plummets rapidly, and that steep drop signals the brainstem that it is time for NREM sleep. It kickstarts the glymphatic flush.
That is a brilliant way to trick your internal thermostat. So if you realized your IQ or your work ethic is a trap without this clearance system, you're only halfway there. because the way you view sleep determines if you can use your brain at all.
Yeah, this requires a massive cultural shift. We've spent decades treating sleep like an obstacle, a passive state where you're just doing nothing.
The ultimate toxic hustle culture mantra is, I'll sleep when I'm dead.
But the neuroscience completely dismantles that. If your brain is actively, physically altering its cellular shape to perform a violent flush of toxic waste, sleep isn't passive at all. It is a highly demanding physiological process.
It really leaves you with something heavy to ponder. We spend our lives viewing sleep as the absence of action. But considering the complex mechanics of this system, perhaps sleep is actually the most biologically active and critical work we do all day. When you sacrifice sleep for a few extra waking hours, are you really gaining time? Or are you literally washing away your future self? Watch our breakdown on the billionaire sleep myth right here to complete the puzzle.